The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
All right, welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show, in which we are completing the trilogy of Scream with Scream 3 in our Scream retrospective. And with me are the characters we haven't killed off yet: Jessica Alsman.
Hello.
And Greg McGoon.
Hello.
Third time's a charm here with this Scream 3, which was billed as like the final chapter. There was going to be no more. Scream was done. No more. The final act. They saved the best Scream for last. Or what the poster say for this one? The most terrifying Scream is always the last. So yeah, here we go. So
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
If you thought you'd seen it all,
Whatever you think you know about the past, forget it.
you were wrong. Dead wrong.
Run!
It made you laugh. It made you scream.
Don't panic.
Now it's your last chance
What?
to see the terrifying ending of the most famous horror trilogy ever told.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Scream 3. Rated R.
this one is directed by Wes Craven, written by the ultimate franchise villain Aaron Kruger, based on characters by Kevin Williamson, though some other people helped write this, from what I know. Starring Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Liev Schreiber, Patrick Dempsey, Parker Posey, Scott Foley, Dion Richmond, who's on the poster, but Jenny McCarthy, Matt Kieslar, Emily Mortimer, Patrick Warburton, Lance Henriksen, Kelly Rutherford, Josh Peiss, Jason Mewes, Kevin Smith, Heather Matarazzo, Matarazzo, Jamie Kennedy, Carrie Fisher, Roger Corman, and Roger Jackson as the voice, while Sydney and her friends visit the Hollywood set of Stab 3, the third film based on the Woodsboro murders. Another Ghostface killer rises to terrorize them. And yeah, this concluding chapter, I'd want to point out before we start, this one does not take place in Woodsboro, right?
Nope.
The last one did not take place in Woodsboro, right?
Nope.
No.
So Scream 6 is not monumental for leaving Woodsboro, right?
Nope.
I'd like them to throw that out of their marketing thing like they invented it, but it's all good. They're going to the Big Apple.
Is that how they're marketing it? Like
They're leaving Woodsboro. That was what, like, I think early buzz was like, it's not going to be a Woodsboro. It's like, well, you know, like,
Well, that means
they've left before.
yeah, but that means there's 3 in Woodsboro and 3 not in Woodsboro. So
Right.
it's 50-50 right now.
50-50.
So,
This movie has some behind the scenes. It's kind of a bit like the last one had its problems. This one's a bit of a mess. There's weird stuff going on here. Like Kate Hudson was cast in this movie and then like dropped or replaced, and she either was playing, I don't know who she was playing, but there's a movie, it's called Desert Blue, and when it came out, it was like an indie film, came out of VHS. Kate Hudson was credited as Kate Hudson (parentheses Scream 3).
oh wow.
But yeah, so
What?
she was
my Kate Hudson was almost in this movie.
She was almost in this movie. There's some other people too. So when I was going through prepping for this, there's a lot of were considered people that I'm just like not gonna ramble them off. Like it's like anybody and everybody. Like the Kelly Rutherford role was like a bajillion. Like it was Liv Tyler, and then there was Carrie Russell, and they're like, yeah, if the name came up at a meeting, it might not have. Like when they talk and there's a possibility, then it is not just studio notes of, because there's like there's a great documentary for the original Blade Runner called Darkest Days. And there's a shot in it where they're showing like their casting ideas when they're writing the script for it. And there's like 18 names of people to play Deckard. And like their top one was like Dustin Hoffman. But like, there's no way they went through 17 of those and then finally, well, I guess we'll call Harrison Ford. Like, it wasn't like that. Like sometimes, you have Tarantino talks all the time about like, oh, I had this person in mind, this person. He might not even talk to that person. So who knows? So yeah, there was that. There's the killer situation in this that's really weird. There's the Columbine effect on this movie that happens. I guess we'll get into it as we talk a bit. Before the movie, leading up, this was one of the earliest movies I can remember that had some online interaction. Did either of you remember that?
No.
No?
I went to
Oh.
the theater to see it, but I don't remember the online stuff.
So there was a Sunrise Studios website that popped up
Oh.
online, and you could go to it and you could read about these old B movies and stuff and different notes and things about it, and different things would be added every week to it. I remember I did this because I was in it was my senior year of high school, and I took a networking class, which was like, I don't know, it went above my head with stuff. And the coolest thing I learned to do was open somebody's tray in their desktop from my computer that was across the room, because I could do stuff. But I would go on this website because I was allowed to be online and on a computer during the day. This was back when we all didn't have laptops and all that stuff. You had to go to a class for a computer. But yeah, it was a Sunrise Studio. You learned about Milton. John Milton was named on there. I believe Rena Reynolds was named on there. The movies she was in were like in the stock. Like there was a lot of stuff on there. It all meant fucking nothing, but it was kind of neat. Because this is a year after the Blair Witch, or the year following Blair Witch Project, and that one really kind of kicked into some online stuff as well. But okay, so I was the only one, and it hit my memory like when I forget what it was. Like I think it might have been passing through notes, and I was like, oh yeah, there was the whole website. So did everybody see this one in the theater?
Yep.
Theatrical?
And I remember
all right.
vividly the day that I saw it in theaters. We'll always remember that moment.
Was it? What did you guys see Scream 2 in theaters? I can't remember. What was it?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. I don't because I was still young. I was a freshman in high school when this
That's
one
right.
came out. And by the time this movie came out, I was such like a Scream fan. Like, I don't know. Do the fans of Scream have like nicknames? Are we like screamers or something? Like, I don't know.
Probably.
But like whatever. So like I was a full screamer by that point. That like I was a freshman in high school, so I was still pretty young. It was rated R. I couldn't get tickets to go see this on my own, but I'm not even joking. I took like printer paper, and I wrote like the numbers 1 through 10 on like different pieces of paper, and I taped them around like the house. And each day I was like, ripped off the 10, 9 days left till Scream 3, 8 days left. And I like literally had a physical countdown around the house at my dad's house at this point, because my parents were divorced already. And I had the countdown going on. So when the day came, I got dropped off at school, and my dad went to the theater to buy tickets to opening night for me and my friends to go. And he wasn't going to go see it because he was like, he's seen the first two. This can't be any worse.
Yeah.
So whatever. So then at the end, like that evening, we got to the theater. My dad dropped me off at the dang theater with my friends. And I was hell bent on seeing this freaking movie. And I got in, we got into the theater, and they were checking theater at the main entrance of the theater. But then they also had a person checking tickets at the actual auditorium door.
Oh.
And they were like, do you have your parent here? And I was like, oh, no. And they're like, well, we can't let you in without an adult. And I'm like, what do you mean? We have our tickets. It's like my dad bought them. He left. And they were like arguing it. So they were like, well, you can't come in. So then I turned to my friends, and they're like, well, we can't go. We need to call somebody. I was like, I'm seeing this movie. I don't care, with or without you. I was so awful because I was like determined to see this movie. I saw the attendant like looking away at something, and I literally ran into the theater, leaving my friends behind. I just booked it into the
Oh,
theater. It was sold out, by the way. It was before like
right.
predetermined seats were there. I looked around the theater. I saw somebody else I knew who had a parent there, and I like sat down and I was like, "Hi." So I got in, but my dad's not actually here because he dropped me off and they weren't going to let me in. I told him the whole story and I said, "But I kind of like left my other friends out there and they don't know how to get in. Do you mind going out there and bringing in my friends?" So like this random other person that I kind of knew had a parent that went outside to bring my friends in like 6 minutes later so
Oh
that we
my
could all see the
gosh.
movie. But they were very bitter. They were very, very bitter that I just like said, screw it, I'm going to see this movie.
You
So
had
I
to.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I had to. I like
I
I
Like
had
you,
to
they
see
saw
it.
the movie.
yeah.
They did see the movie. So me running into the theater, like sneaking in with a ticket, still got them into the theater. But I was just like, "You cover me." They were too like shy to do that. I was like, run. I was like, well, if you're not gonna take the chance, I will. Like, does not matter. So like that, my like passion and drive to see this movie was not gonna stop me. Like I went full like I Love Lucy. Like I'm gonna find a way. Like give me a hat and a coat. Like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get into this dang show. So yeah, I will vividly remember the day I ditched my friends to see this, but I did get them in. We all saw it. We're all, well, we're not friends now, but um but we were friends the rest of the school year and all the things, so it was good. But yeah, this movie was a very formative part of my like Scream fandom, I
Gotcha.
suppose.
Well, yeah, like it's funny you said that. I was 18 at the time, so I got to not only drive myself, I could buy my own ticket, but the first two I wasn't like that. My funny story with the people not letting you in because you were too young or whatever. It depends on who worked at places, right? Because I had one of my favorite things that ever happened to me was, well, not favorite, but I was at age where I was like 16 and friends were 17. We all kind of weren't the same age, so some could do something, some couldn't. And we were going on Friday night to go see the new horror movie, Phantoms, starring Ben Affleck, Rose McGowan, Joanna Goy, and Liev Schreiber. And the woman turned us away. Like, she's like, "Nope, can I see IDs?" And he's like, and I was like, "Yep." She's like, "I can't sell you a ticket, son." I was this old woman. I was like, no, it's okay. And then the 17-year-old was like, "Well, then I'll buy one extra ticket, please." Like, "I know you're buying it from him, so no, I'm not going to sell to you either." And turned us away from Phantoms, which I guess she did us a favor because the movie's not very good. But then it was funny because when Jenny Silent Bob Strike Back, it became the joke, Affleck you to bomb in Phantoms, yo. And I'm like, yeah, I wasn't allowed to see that movie because of the woman at the theater turned us away. But Jessica, do you have any as exciting a story as Greg?
No,
Was it no?
I went with my mommy because I was too young. I'd been like 13, I think.
Mhm.
And she was a big Scream fan too, so she wanted to see it. But nothing really fancy about going to watch it, except for it's just so much better to watch it with an audience opening weekend. I think a lot of scary movies are like that, or like
Mhm.
your Marvel movies, because you're all in on the jokes together, and every little Easter egg that pops up, everyone reacting. And I was I mean, back in the day, I'd probably call myself a film nerd, considering how many movies I would watch and how
Yeah.
I would try to research stuff. So then the whole movie takes place like in Hollywood behind the scenes, and I'm just like absorbing all of this. Like, this is so amazing. And even rewatching it, there's stuff I just didn't even notice. But the whole movie itself is like meta because they're basically like, commenting on themselves and how they make the movies. And oh, they made 3 scripts because, last one got leaked online.
Mhm.
I didn't even understand that stuff until, the last podcast. So I was like, oh crap. And now watching it again, I'm like, this is so great. I love when shows are basically like pulling the curtain back for the fans.
Yeah.
And so basically I like Scream 3 better than Scream 2. I think because of
Oh,
that.
I think I do
gotcha.
too.
Oh,
I
no
think I do
way.
too now.
Oof.
I know. This is the one I've seen the most out of all of them,
Oh,
actually. I
geez.
realize.
For
I
me,
know.
this is the worst of them for me. Like,
It's
I
just
think it's
because
a
it's like
bad movie.
it's like we're in on it and they're like writing it just for us
Yeah.
before they wrote the last movie, basically.
Gotcha.
But before I would have said Scream 2, but rewatching it, I was like, man, I really like Scream 3. It's kind of
Same. It's so fun.
It
It's
is
Oh.
so
fun.
fun.
I love the Dewey and Gale like detective team the whole time they're together. And
Yeah.
like, oh, and then of course Dewey's kind of getting dumber, which I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
necessarily like, but his lines are so funny that it's like, okay, it's to be funny. Like,
I know. No, I'll get to my problems with it. So it's a very no. Like the thing is, like I think it's a bad movie, but it's a very watchable movie in my mind. Like I have seen this plenty of times. Like it's not like I'm like, oh, I'll watch Scream 1, Scream 2, skip Scream 3. No, like I have no issue watching it, because it does have some, it has some pretty good pluses to it. But like one of the problems with this movie is like Kevin Williamson, whereas the tagline is he was too busy to do this movie, which is not true. They wouldn't do his idea. Was supposed to be moving away from things and focusing on like the impact the stab movies have had on high school youth. But Columbine happened, and that's not a cool idea at this time. And he kind of they parted ways, and then they plus I think he at the time like his story has changed somewhat on what it was going to be,
Yeah.
because at the time I believe he was saying he wasn't going to bring back Gail, Dewey, or Sydney. He wanted to do a fresh thing with that, but they bring in Aaron Kruger, who's currently Academy Award nominated for Top Gun Maverick, but who would write Reindeer Games, if you've seen that Ben Affleck classic. But they actually apparently he was fired at one point because the script was so bad, and they had Leta Kalogridis polish the script up with Wes Craven, because Wes Craven was like, these are not our characters. What in the, like they said that on paper. But yeah, so that's one thing they had. And Nev Campbell was actually too busy, and I don't think she wanted to do this one.
that makes sense then, because I was like, we need more Sid.
She was only there for
Sid.
20 days
Wow.
to shoot, and in the same clothing as she was in Scream 2. And in some of it too.
What?
Yeah, the when she dressed it with when she meets them up, she's in the same outfit as she is in Scream 2 at the end. Like
Really?
it's the finale
Oh my
outfit
gosh.
for her. But yeah, and Aaron Kruger is a guy through his career I have just not been a fan of a lot of his work starting here. But yeah, and this also has the Courtney Cox bangs that are
Ugh, that was horrifying when I was young.
I
and
know that is
today.
still. I wish they could do a digital re-edit and just change her bangs.
Hey, after Scream 2's haircut, life had to balance itself out. Like we couldn't just, she had to be toned, she had to get humble.
It just, I don't know. It's another thing young Jessica didn't appreciate was Patrick Dempsey back in the day and his amazing hair. Just rewatching this, I was like,
he's not good in this either, but I guess in his defense, he was hired the day before they started shooting.
But
Really?
still, like how they wrote his character, I still don't. How is every killer always able to take down everybody, even like the stronger dudes, or a Patrick Warburton?
Well, I've always when I've always felt like vomiting when Sydney's like, "What's your favorite scary movie, officer?" He's like, "My life." I'm like, "Oh, God, fuck out of here, go." Just
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of funny. I don't know. I love that about this movie. I think the script is actually very quotable, and it's campy, and it's fun. It's a different tone than all the other Screams, without a doubt. But
well,
I
it
love
takes the tone of Dewey and Gale rather
Yeah.
than Sydney, is what
which
it is.
I love. Like I just like the introduction. The minute they went into we'll get to the opening scene, but the introduction when Parker Posey and Gale meet, like Gale versus Gale,
Mhm.
I'm like all in. I am locked in. I said this is what I want for the whole movie, and that is what I got for the whole movie,
Yeah.
and I was thrilled about it. So like their dynamic to me is what this movie is and what I wanted out of the movie. So we're going to dissect everything wrong with the movie. I'm not saying it's actually a good movie. I'm saying I love it and have a great time with it. But no, the movie is a complete story mess.
Yeah. Well, and I say to the credit, Parker Posey single-handedly is a reason to watch this movie because she's amazing in it. Like she's the best thing about it in my mind. Like she is incredible.
Courtney Cox is still good as Gale. Like Courtney Cox is still makes it as Gale. Like that is needed, and their dynamic together was really fun. Like just their quippy banter of that whole beginning of like, oh, I'm in your mind, and she's like, well, that explains my constant headaches, and the whole like being single is a pretty good fallback too to like Parker, and just like that little like snarky banter between the two of them is just great. Like I believe it. I think it's fun.
Mhm.
So I like seeing that. Like I like seeing Gale's edge come back, but still
It
it's
gets
non-threatening edge.
it gets little details done well, while the overall plot line and script is a shambles. But
Yes, yeah, I'll defend it to life, but you can say everything you hate about it, and then I'll come as devil's advocate going, but I like it because
uh,
but
the
I
Parker
mean,
Posey thing, like you were talking about how she kind of everything is campy when she gets
yeah,
scared that she's gonna get killed. She's like, "Oh, like what was me?" And then just jumps into her bodyguard's arms, like, "Oh, hold
yes,
me." And I think that's so funny.
it's
well, it's
so
fine. Well,
good.
that's how good she is. Like that's we left the camera roll. She did that. We're keeping it in the movie. Like for some reason it works.
It was fun.
But that's the thing is that like I feel like everybody in the cast ideally is like it feels like at least they're having a good time. Like I don't know why think that because I feel like there were issues making the movie. Well, I know behind the scenes there were like at least getting it made, but I feel like when they were actually filming it, like I feel like everybody was like, you know what, guys, let's just have fun. And I feel like that's the energy I'm
Well,
getting.
That's a Wes Craven set though. Like most
Yeah,
of his movies, people are having fun because
but
he's a.
since this movie has more humor than any of the other Screams,
Mhm.
I think they really just said, you know what, this is the movie we have to make because the other ideas didn't work out. So let's just have a party with it and go over the top. But that is a testament to like the actual acting ability in these movies because Parker Posey, as over the top as she is, I still believe her as a person in
Oh
it.
yeah,
Like
yeah, no, because
I
Parker
believe that character.
Posey's a fantastic actor. Like
Yes.
she's good at comedy and drama. Like she's excels at comedy and drama. We've never. This is the best a blockbuster has presented us with Parker Posey. Like she's never
Yes.
truly lifted off, and been wasted in other ones. And this is the only one that really got her and let her go to work and gave her something real to chew on. Like this is it. Like her and indie stuff or the little Christopher Guest comedies, like magnificent. But then like blockbusters like Superman Returns, she's just the grumbly bitchy woman next to Lex Luthor. Nothing to do there. Like she's granted that's a terrible movie itself, but
like even Jenny McCarthy is actually not bad in this movie. Like I think she's good.
oh, I
You
think
don't
she's
like her in
terrible.
it?
She's terrible.
I
But
think she's
but
who she should be for that actress who it
yes,
really
And
is.
she
Like
is
she's
good
playing
in the
that
role
part,
that
yeah.
she's given.
which
I
is probably
believe
her in real life. Like
Yes.
she's like, why am I
Yeah.
doing this? Oh my god.
And
Yes.
at the time, she was a weird casting choice because we only like really at that time she was just Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah.
Jenny McCarthy. Like
Well, she
there
posed
was
for Playboy and stuff, I think.
Playboy.
Before then.
She was on
Singled out.
she was on Singled Out on
That.
MTV. She was just like a personality that was just
Basketball.
Jenny McCarthy. Yeah.
But that
So
was her role in the movie. It was just like,
Right.
oh, I'm playing Candy. Like I know that girl in real life. Like when I lived in New York and like, or even being in LA, I know those like beautiful women who are just like, why am I getting these dumb roles? Like she's criticizing
well,
what like roles
the
women get.
dialogue's fine. Her performance isn't. That's I just don't think she's.
But
I'm just like, well, it's flat. It's not good.
I don't know. I believe it just because I've had those real conversations with friends who are actors
Yeah.
before, and I'm like, that tracks. Like this fits. So I don't think I mean, I don't think that she's giving more of a performance as much as she's kind of giving herself, but it
Yeah.
is believable in it. But like herself isn't far off from that character. If
And
that
there's
makes
actually
and like
really good script writing there because it's true. Like the character, wait, her boyfriend just died. Why is she even showering? She should be like really depressed. Like,
exactly
Yeah.
good script. Like
I was like,
and
I
they
don't
make
know.
her character actually smart, so it kind of subverts that expectation of like why those attractive blonde like women always die or stupid in movies.
Mhm.
Now this movie's actually calling out that behavior in movies, being like, why is this happening? And I think she pulls it off. And I don't know. I will defend it. Like I said, I will defend this movie the more I've watched it. I actually had it on earlier today, even again, because I'm just like, of all the Screams, this is the easiest one to put on and watch.
Gotcha. Not for me.
So
let's-
she even like kind of dies like Tatum though. Well, not
Yes.
really dies like it, but she lays over the door
Yep.
Yeah.
frame, and it's like, oh, a little
with
what is
terrible
that? What did
acting
he
once
say
she-
it?
I can't.
I didn't
she
believe
lo-
she died.
Yeah, no, I won't go there for McCarthy. There's other people in here I do like, but no. So let's start the opening scene. So like Scream 1, When a Stranger Calls. Scream 2, He Knows You're Alone. Scream 3 is what? Like I guess we have one of the OGs with Cotton Weary getting killed off. He's the only original Scream cast member to be killed in an opening scene. And that's kind of neat that I like that. But I'm like, the novelty of the first two movies was this was like two other slasher movies before it, kind of giving us hit, and this is just kind of something else.
Well,
But-
is there a movie where they think your spouse did it and they didn't do it? I
There's-
can't
I thought it
really
was a
There's
clever
nothing here-
opening though. Like I thought it
Okay.
was clever, but it also here's the thing though, with the opening of this one, it ended up redefining the voice because this is when they introduced the voice changer thing.
Mhm.
So it shifts the rest of the movie because Scream 4, don't they do a little bit in Scream 4 with voice changing?
They have a
yeah.
there's an app that you can
Yeah,
you
but
can
that,
do.
but the notion of voice changing is used in future movies. So this kind of sets a new precedent of like what the killer is gonna do now. It's not just the Scream voice. It's now like I like how Cotton was misled as the potential killer, or at least, well, I mean, you knew he wasn't, but I like how his
Yeah.
voice was used to scare his girlfriend and put her against him when he did show up. I thought that was kind of clever, and it did, I guess, set like the tone for the rest of the movie. So that means like anybody could have been the killer at that point, because the voice is constantly changed. Whether or not that's believable technology is debatable, especially when it gets into Sydney's mom, which is debatable. Like, how can a voice changer recreate a dead woman's voice? But
They have that
I
now.
like
but-
Well,
yeah.
Greg, she was in movies, right? I'm trying to help you defend this.
okay.
You
Well,
can
great.
take the-
I love
yeah,
it.
there you go. But no, this is Scream 3, I guess, walks so sequels can run because it introduces some far out concepts that now that there's 5 of them, it's like, okay, whatever. But like the voice changer and then the dream sequence with the mother.
Okay, that scared the crap out of me. I remember as a kid, it scared me.
So
and
weird.
even watching it again, I was like, that's so crazy. I don't like it. And then
It's
even
weird.
the audience, I don't know if Sydney was hallucinating or not. So I still don't know when she was or wasn't and when it's a dream. I'm sure it's obvious, but I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
Sydney cray cray.
It's weird. But it because of that dream sequence, when we have Sam in Scream 5 having things, it's fine because that happened here and it's established that that's a thing that can happen in this world. Like I remember it was a big deal in Star Wars Revenge of the Sith when Anakin had a vision and it showed it, and they'd never shown anything like flashbacks or visions or anything like that before, and people made a big fucking stink about it's doing this. This isn't a narrative thing they do. Well, once you introduce it, now it does, and someone has to walk so you can run. That's the fancy thing. But that's what this opening sequence does. Start the voice changer, which I thought when I first saw it, and I'll admit, like, I thought it was a cool concept, even though there's, I guess, a lot of backlash on the voice changer being like, oh, it's bullshit. It's bull. Like, well, technology, but that was a thing, that was a complaint from people that didn't bother me. It
was just 20 years too soon or something like
Yeah,
that. because
that
there
was the issue. Is
there
it was
is
a great
total thing now that like we can
Well,
literally have people at
yeah.
our work
and
not even voice anything ever again.
once
But
we'll get to once we see the thing, how does it work?
no
And
buttons with their names on it. You
well,
know.
Yeah.
not the button, but like, so jumping way ahead, there's a scene where we get a full-on monologue from Ghostface in voice. So there's the traitor like stuck up in the mask. Like,
Yeah, I don't know that part. Darth
how's that?
Vader-ish.
it's
Yeah.
like, how's it?
But I mean, that I'm willing to suspend disbelief. I think what like well back then I was actually I wasn't in high school. I was in middle school. I was eighth grade when this came out still. I was less worried about technology because I was
Mhm.
just like I just kind of accepted for what it was. Now, like with eyes on it, I go like, oh, well, that is something that we can do now. So maybe Roman just had skills and like did it before anybody else. Like, I don't know. I accept it for what it is, but yes, it is convoluted at the time. So if I were more of an adult when it did come out, I'd be like, that's not how technology works. But as like a young kid, I'm like, this is so fun. Like,
Mhm.
I want to talk like someone else. Like I was excited by the prospect of the idea rather than the actual how to execution of it that I would have been as an adult seeing this in 2000 versus as a 14-year-old seeing it in the year 2000. So
Right.
Scream 2, I was still like, how do they have the voice of the killer? Like,
It's just
how
it's a
many of these out
changer.
there that they knew the exact one?
yeah,
And then how did Billy's mom get it if she wasn't connected to Roman, who basically set up Billy to do all this?
Well,
yeah.
Sorry.
that
I
that's
mean,
If
not
you want to
that's
talk
not
about voice changing things, and then Scream 2 is the real problem there.
well, when she goes to collect her son's belongings or goes through his home after he's dead, and there's another one sitting in the dresser. Maybe she
That's
took
oh,
it.
that's
nice. They
true.
would leave it there probably. Ugh.
Yeah, they probably weren't very like smart about the voice changers. I mean, I can imagine it would be. I imagine that the voice changer was probably became public knowledge because Gail probably was like, "What voice was it?" and all that type of thing. I feel like Gail would have like revealed the voice changer and be like, "And this is the one that they used." I'm sure there was a whole chapter in the book about the voice changer.
Yeah, she
So
probably stole the
At
27.
Radio Shack. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I was like, they
Yeah.
got this version, but luckily nowadays you can get this
Yeah.
upgraded version.
And
Well, I
here's
just
mine now.
it's funny like to like so go let's go back to the opening here with Cotton. He's in the thing. He's got this like crazy chase by like the Capitol Records building and all that stuff to show how we're in Hollywood now with that whatever. But there was the weird thing like so Kelly Rutherford is showering and wandering through and setting us up for the slippery floor. But like and then when he comes in and attacks the fight, do you like the line like, you know, I don't like your stab games? I'm like,
I
Always
mean,
trying to
what are your
pretend.
stab games? Cotton, what kind of
I
fetish is
mean,
that? Like, okay.
I mean, I don't know. I've rewatched that scene. I literally just watched the opening scene right before
Yeah.
we started this again, and I'm still struggling with how he like managed to drive so aggressively in LA at
Mhm.
that time of day, and not get pulled over or actually be able to get away with what he did to get home that quickly
Right.
because that's not doable. As I just drove past, yesterday, drove past like that same route that he took, or well, that's also not a consistent route. Like, let's be real.
No, no.
But like I drove past like a couple of those things in the evening around when that was happening, and I could barely move. It took me like 30 minutes to go a mile and a half,
Because what
and
does he
there's no way
start?
around it.
He start by like the Hollywood Bowl and then manage,
Yes.
yeah, like and then he gets by Capitol Records, which not doable in that quick. Even
No,
if you're driving on the side of the road, no,
no, not doable whatsoever.
no.
You guys
And
would be thinking
again,
about LA traffic. I was just like, wait a minute, he hit that lady and now she's gonna report a hit and run and not get compensated because he's gone.
100% Cotton. He'll get out of
Oh
it.
my gosh, I love that freaking bill. There was a billboard, which it said it was weekdays
I
at
would wear a
3:30.
100% Cotton shirt with him like that.
I would too.
yeah,
Weekdays at
I
3:30, and yet it's on when he gets home and it's evening. I was like, it's not that dark at 4:30 in LA or 4, whatever
um
time a show would end. Talking about
well,
road
I mean,
rage
it
in
is
LA.
at like it is in December at 4:30.
Oh
It's not that
no.
dark.
Okay.
Um,
Then
but
that story checks out.
yeah, I mean, but this didn't take place in December, so
Yeah.
but no, I struggled with the lack of traffic, and again,
Mhm.
I'm from California, I'm from LA, around LA, so I was very like cognizant of the lack thereof or convenience of traffic in LA that I'm like that does not exist. So that part was hard for me to grasp of like he would have gotten a ticket, and I wasn't even driving when I saw this movie, and I still would have been like he would have gotten a ticket.
Right.
Which, to be fair, would have been smart. That would have been really interesting, but it wouldn't have worked for the movie, which is my issue with 5 when we get to 5. But like, if he's driving that fast, cops would have followed him, and that would have been a best case scenario because he would have parked, ran, cops would have ran after him and be like, follow me, and then
Right.
like cops show up at the house.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. That could have been interesting, but it wouldn't have worked because then he wouldn't have been able to die, but it would have been more believable. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then so like when they come face to face, and for the point, like there's like a weird like when she hits him across the face with the fire poker and stuff, like there's some like Quantum of Solace like bad edits where I'm like they jump around and I'm like can't exactly see what's going on. Cause like she hits him pandemonium and then she gets stabbed and then it like cuts like funny with her after she gets stabbed. Like it jumps or something like that. It's really weird. It's some funky edit. I'm wondering if they just couldn't like one take, like they liked one thing from one take and like the other, and they just couldn't sort of like splice it, see if people give a shit. But it was kind of, yeah, it's just really weird.
Is the
the
opening
first,
supposed to be The Shining? Like, because he stabs through the door? And then kind of a husband turning on the family? I know. I'm still thinking about that.
I know. I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because I liked that it was the misdirect of her when Cotton was really trying to save her and she felt threatened by
Yeah.
him, though he wasn't the killer. I think that was dynamic enough for me to be like, oh, this is still an engaging opening scene because what if I think it would have been more interesting if she actually like killed him or like made him unconscious or something, like if
Mhm.
she took him out and then she died after, so it wasn't even like the killer ended up killing Cotton. So like that kind of, I think tonally that would have fit the movie of this
Uh-huh.
whole like campy, like over the top thing of being like, oh my god, his girlfriend actually killed Cotton, but now everybody thinks the killer did it. And he like kind of, if the killer kind of like shrugged and then just killed her and was like, well, okay. Like that kind of maybe would have been more like kind of fun, I think. Because if you're gonna go through the hassle of making him look like the threat to her, even though we know it wasn't, having her actually, or just like making him unconscious so that she dies and then like he like comes to and the killer's over his face and he just stabs in. Like I don't
Yeah.
think we needed the brawl between Cotton and the killer.
Right.
I already got that between him and his girlfriend. So like let the killer get away with not having to add more kills to his thing and let the girlfriend actually knock out or take down Cotton. And then he can kind of just laugh at it, being like, haha, my plan's gonna work the rest of this movie now because I fooled them. Like take more joy in that. I think there could have been more fun for that opening, but I'm not mad at it. I think I
It's
was engaged and entertained.
it's
But
the
Cotton's like ripped. Like he's in good shape.
Oh no,
So again, I'm
he
kind of like he's trying to get the whatever role, right? Like
well, he Liev Schreiber was working out because I believe he was getting buff for Sum of All Fears or something like that that he
Oh.
was in, and he made sure Wes Craven made him a tight sweater and that he took his jacket off so he could show off
Yeah.
his muscles. Like
So
he
this
talks
is
about
what
it on the
I don't-
commentary.
But I don't believe that then. So then this the killer who doesn't exactly look like he can, bench press anything,
Mhm.
is able to overpower Cotton, and a bookshelf falls down on the killer here.
Yeah.
And then when he pushes the bookshelf off because he's so strong, Cotton gets blasted off like it's the bridge of the Enterprise and
Mhm.
like just gets thrown across the room, and I'm like, okay. I love everything about the opening scene, but that's the only part where I'm like,
Well,
no,
so when they
I
started
don't buy the
shooting,
bookshelf.
well, the part of this is like a reshoot too, because they started shooting it, and then when they went back, he had buffed up, and he's like, "Can we do this with a small shirt?" So there's
Oh
cutting,
my god.
they're cutting between different things here. So it's
Okay.
is what it is. But Cotton goes down.
See,
Cut.
but then that now makes even more sense if his girlfriend took him out, because obviously Cotton wouldn't be that aggressive towards his girlfriend to try to
Yeah.
do it. So if she did the poker and it really did hit him, he probably would have gotten knocked out. And that tracks, so that if he would have been
Mhm.
knocked out, the killer could have gotten on top of him, and he like slowly comes to, opens his eyes to see the killer go slice. That
That's what
makes
they should have done.
that's
Well,
what
see-
they probably should have done, because I feel like the girlfriend, the poker to the head would have knocked him out no matter how buff he is, and he wouldn't have been high octane adrenaline trying to calm her down, and she was so scared that she could easily have harmed him, and he could have gotten harmed by that.
I'm
So-
trying to figure out if Liev Schreiber and Kelly Rutherford shared a frame together, because this role was originally like just a dead body, and then it started growing, and then they actually had to cast somebody for it, and there was
They did
reshoots
share
for
a
this
frame
opening.
together.
Huh? Did they share a frame?
They did.
Okay, because I'm like, I wonder if they were even in a frame together. Because
Yeah, no,
well, did they
she was
share a
swinging.
face to like both faces on screen in the same frame? Because
Yes.
you can have a stand-in easily. Okay.
There's a couple parts where she's swinging, like where I think you can see like profile of him that it couldn't have been
Okay.
expanded, and she's like this way and he's coming towards her. I mean, there's no way, or that would have
Okay.
just cost a fortune in editing. I mean,
Gotcha.
maybe not all of it together, but I imagine that they would have done some. But yeah,
Gotcha.
and the more I think about it, and I didn't think about that until we started talking about it, is I wish she took him out, which would have played into the whole voice changer really working.
Mhm.
If she took him out and then the killer like stabbed him when he was coming to, that would have been really jarring and shocking and interesting.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm not mad it didn't reference other movies, because I thought it was exciting.
It's
It was
fine
exciting.
enough. It just didn't fit the
Yeah.
mold that I liked of the first two.
Cotton
with
got
that,
what
but
he wanted though. That negotiation at the end of 2,
oh yeah,
you know, he got his fame.
Diane.
Yeah, and that character is so believable too, where he just
Mhm.
that like seedy
Opportunist,
Hollywood
yeah.
guy, like it just these movies are like they still seem timeless because these character tropes still exist today. Like
Yeah.
this character could be written in a movie today, and you would be like, "Yep, that tracks. That works."
Right.
So
Gotcha. But Sydney, she's the opposite. She is secluded because Nev Campbell can't be there all the time. But I do like this thing that she's works for a women's abuse help thing. That's a nice choice.
Yep.
To have her there, working anonymously on the phone. And her dad comes back in this one.
yep.
You
Good
get
to
a
see
scene with
him.
him. Good to see old Mr. Prescott. But yeah, my crux story that Courtney Cox, Dewey Gale separated again, and she's giving a lecture, and I like the intro scene where she gives the lecture. They try to once again like plant seeds to red herring Gale, with the student going, "Tell us, Miss Weathers, was it worth it?" Like, ooh, maybe she's into this, but when she's told backstage that there's a guy out there, he's with the police, and she gets excited like it's Dewey and it's Detective Kincaid, which I'd be bummed
And then
too.
she got even more excited because that hair is just gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
He's such a little man in real life, though.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Dempsey. I had no idea how tiny he was. I saw him in person finally, and I was like, I'm towering over this man.
Oh
He's
wow.
a very little lad.
See, like Robert Downey Jr. height, because he's a
I would-
short
yeah.
man.
It's very they have such a big presence on screen, but then in real life, you're like, hi down there. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm
Oh,
tall.
hello there. I'm Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, like,
no,
the
no.
wee little
My
lad.
magic. My magic.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, lovely man and all
Oh,
that. I
he's
won't say anything negative. I just was
5'9".
surprised.
Oh,
No,
Five
he's
nine.
not. Lies.
That's
The
lie.
internet
Yeah.
lies.
That's
I
funny.
saw a costume sheet for him.
Maybe on an Apple box.
5'9"
Yeah.
and a fourth. They got specific there.
Yeah, no. There I saw an
Oh,
actual
this one says
costume.
5'10" and a half.
Yeah, I
Lies.
saw an actual costume sheet. I'm not going to reveal the real height, but because I don't know if I mean I
okay.
saw the actual costume like thing for a movie that he did, and I was like, wait, he's that short? I was like, this is the official measurement sheet of like the cast of this movie, and I was blown away by the written down documented studio height of him, which is not what the internet says.
Interesting. You know, my boyfriend's driver's license says he's 5'9", and I remember I go, no, you're not. He's like, well,
Yeah.
that's what Dr. Kopp told me. And I'm like, well, I don't think you are, because my friend that's 5'10" is like a lot taller than you and me. And then it's like, I think we're kind of close to the same height. And I'm 5'5". So I think he's like 5'7", 5'8", but whatever. It's funny. I don't know why you guys don't care about that, do you? Height? Or I guess Dempsey does. Never mind.
I do. I mean, I do. I'm just as bad as the people on Love Island where I'm like, oh, what do you find attractive? Oh, he's really tall. Like I like tall has become a personality trait for me for like people I like am into. Like it's really I need to work on that, but I for some reason, and I'm 6'1" and I still go for people taller than me. I don't know how or why, and it works, but it's just it's hard for me to look otherwise. But yeah, height matters
Maybe that's why I
for
love
me.
Matthew Lillard so much, because he was like, what's not dangly or gangly, but he was just so tall and like skinny, and it was like,
Thank you.
oh,
Yeah.
I love you, Matthew Lillard.
Wait, I didn't realize Patrick Dempsey is 57.
Oh,
Oh my
Yeah, I know.
gosh, I didn't even pay
I know.
attention to that part.
Well, he wasn't in this movie, but like, he
Right.
currently is. But still,
right.
Yeah, still looks
So
good.
so
Yeah.
this like there, Greg, have you heard about this alternate opening apparently for this movie
I did at one point, yeah, but I
where
don't know all the specifics.
Sydney was in the opening and someone was calling her and when the ghost face shows up, she shoots him dead, and it ended up being some kid trying to prank her, and that's why she moved to seclusion.
I did hear something like that, and that kind of would have been amazing. But
That
at the
would,
same
yeah,
time, though, I don't want Sydney to go through more hell than that. Like, I
right,
think she's been stabbed multiple times by this point. She's watched loved ones literally get massacred in front of her eyes by
right.
this point in time. I think her going into seclusion is justified without her accidentally killing somebody.
Oh man.
So
Like, she's already killed people too. That's what's worse. Is like she's already actually killed people. I mean, who deserve to die in self-defense, but like I don't think her now taking on the burden of an accidental death really is what needs to push her over the edge beyond what she's been through.
yeah, so yeah, the movie we go to it's about Stab 3, The Return to Woodsboro, and oh boy, is it! I don't know what this movie they're trying to make is like. It's like a movie full of flashbacks or something because the
Yeah, they
sets and
say
stuff.
that.
But this is neat. They got a little cameo by Roger Corman there. The studio is run by John Milton, played by Lance Henriksen. Scott Foley's the Roman Bridger director. And
Oof,
they've
that I
got
haven't
a
seen.
huh?
That is where I'm gonna go into having issues with this movie about him being the director. But
Yeah.
we'll get there.
So yeah, and the movie's like having trouble with production, shutting down. We've talked about Jenny McCarthy dying, being the second death. It's neat to see the sets and things like that, and hear the sort of like meta talk about stuff. But these characters just, I don't know. Aside from Parker Posey, I'm just like, they're fun, but I'm just like, okay, you're gonna die at some point. You're gonna die at some point. Like I don't know. Like I don't feel for them like I have others in the first two movies. I'm just kind of like, okay, this kind of feels like the first time where I'm like, all right, let's just almost like, oh, who's it going to be in the end? Like at that point, rather than enjoying a lot of the journey with it. Though there's some good investigation with Gale and Parker Posey that I like going on. But with these people, like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like there's less depth to them. I like what the actors bring to these parts, but
Yep.
not what they are on paper. A lot of them. But I do like some of the things to do with it. But they're in this scene where we first see the studio. Josh Pais, who's Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the voice of, when they're asking what the police are doing there, he's like, he was in a movie called Stab. He was stabbed.
Yeah,
I love that delivery.
same. Like
I'm
this-
always it kills. I like that's a good one.
no, I thought, but that's the thing about this movie is it kind of pokes fun at, okay, well then let's reflect back on our I Know What You Did Last Summer trilogy and our Urban Legends trilogy. The third movies are arbitrary, crappy, random actors in them, not really relevant to the story. Now we have Scream 3, the third of this, which is actually rooted in the original movie. Like that is the core of the original Scream is the core of 3, but they're making Scream 3, which now in the context of the Stab, or they're making Stab 3 in the context of the Stab world, is essentially I always know what you did last summer, and or Urban Legend Bloody Mary with the randos
Right.
who are just gonna die. So in that respect, it's just like
It's
even
it's a
more,
premonition that that's going to
like
happen
it's
to those
more
others.
meta of the fact that like typical third movies go off the rails, and this one managed to not only bring together your like original cast, do something different, and then make a knock about how Stab 3 is already going kind of off the rails, where like original cast people couldn't come back, and now they're doing flashbacks. They're doing this random ass crap that typically happens in third movies,
Mhm.
where Randy sets it up as like the third movie if you're doing a proper trilogy. But you notice he doesn't really list off horror movies as much when he's talking about like trilogies where you find out something important that wasn't revealed in like the first one, or like a secret reveal. So like it takes the rules of a trilogy, but
Mhm.
not by like horror movie tradition trilogy, because usually those fail in the typical sense. What?
I will say, like, so friend of the show, Mike Vanderbilt, has said about Scream 3, despite whatever and ever about it, the movie does know the assignment.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah. And after movie I cannot say that I recently just saw that did not understand the assignment, which I will talk about in the future. Um like I I don't care if a movie like has its flaws if it leans into them and it just knows what it wants to be and just says this is what we are and owns it. This movie owns it, and I feel like it still has good performances in there, because you have your legacy characters and you have Parker Posey. Let's just be real. She's in it.
Which,
Great. Like,
by the way, do you know who the first the alternate pick for Parker Posey's character was?
Jennifer Coolidge. No, I'm just kidding.
And
Jennifer Aniston?
and guess what? It would have worked too, but I'm glad we have Parker Posey. Taya Leone.
Oh, I did know that.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah,
that would have worked.
that would have worked. A
Taylor
different way, and been probably, yeah, good in a different way. But yeah, it would have worked.
it would have been sharper. Like Taylor Leone has more of a bite to her,
Right.
while Parker Posey has that like eccentricness to her
Yeah.
that like is more playful. Where I feel like Taylor Leone would have really gone head to head with Gale, and it would have been like, "Ooh, I feel uncomfortable."
It'd
Like,
have been a bit colder. Yeah.
yeah, it would have been much colder, and that would have been interesting. But I almost wish, but see, they're so different, Taylor Leone and like Parker Posey, that I kind of wish they were both in the movie. Like, I don't want one or the other, but I kind of want to see like Gale have like, because Taylor Leone would have been more like the way Gale actually truly is, with that like
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, she
like,
could have been Gale Weathers herself. Yeah. Like,
yeah. So like, yeah, she really could have been, but like Parker Posey could never have been Gale, but Taylor Leone could have been Courtney Cox as the Gale. So yeah, that's interesting.
Here we go. If we would have seen scenes with Gale from Stab in Scream 2, Taylor Leone would have fit better than Parker Posey.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I don't know how
There we go.
Parker Posey would have been in Stab 2 if Stab 2 was really like Scream 3, which when we talk about 4, I have some weird questions about that, which we'll get to, because they referenced Stab 3 in Stab 4, because we know a Stab 3 was made, but not the movie that they were making in Scream 3 of Stab 3.
I was gonna say, because I feel like Stab 3, after thinking about it, was this movie never supposed to actually happen? The whole movie was just supposed to be someone else getting to all these people together, so with no intentions of them living, I guess. So they had no intentions of making the movie, like, for real. Because did they shoot any scenes?
Yeah, they
Or did Cotton just shoot
yeah.
a scene and they just started?
I think they just started before things. And to be fair, production would have gotten shut down. Like, in especially the way we know movies today, or at least working. And after like, I mean, production, if cast members start dying, production would have shut down very quickly. They wouldn't have, this wouldn't have been like a whole debate about like, I mean, we would have not have had that line of they're in a movie called Stab and they got stabbed. Like, that line wouldn't have happened if they got shut down that quickly. But in reality, that is one of the big suspension of disbelief moments, is that like this movie would still be discussed as an option to carry on the minute this happened, or it would have been put on hold for a substantial period of time before the investigation what happened of like Cotton's death. Like so much would have happened. And I get Roman's like passion of like, we got to make this movie. But like what you're saying, Jessica, is like, did he even want to make a movie? And this is where I don't have any defense to it other than I just accept it. We talked about how convoluted the plot is of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, this is so much more convoluted than I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Because yes, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. You had to have the son befriend that group and manage to somehow weasel his way on this trip and become a love interest and all these things like difficult and rig the content. All that stuff happened. But in this one, Roman like became a successful director and managed to take over a franchise for a successful movie franchise of all things for the third one, which happens to be the same studio that his mother worked on back in the day. That was also about the person who is like about the people who like killed the mother and do a movie about his own mother. Like, how did he manage to go to film school, get a career in directing, and still land a role in doing Scream? Like, why did he not try to direct Scream 1? Was he too young at the time? Was he an assistant on the first Stab movies? Like, that is my only real issue.
Wait.
Is I wish he wasn't the director. If he wasn't,
Milton his dad?
what?
Wasn't Milton the producer his dad?
No.
That's why this movie is so difficult to be like, how did he manage to do this? Because
Holy
you have to
crap.
be talented. He seemed to have a pretty great life. So you're that bitter about your mom dying and Sydney being like the prominent one when you are a successful Hollywood director. Like, I hate you. Like, this is like my worst nightmare of like somebody being like, you're literally a director for revenge. Like, you don't even appreciate everything you've accomplished in your life. I just want to like shake Roman and be like, how dare you?
And this takes place 4 years after the first Scream, right?
Yep.
So 5 years after him, Billy, and Stu murder the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sydney was 16.
He had to already have been a successful person at that point. Like, he isn't some like he had to be on his way or something. Like, why would he fucking care?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Is like, this is why this movie didn't even need to really change if he was the AD or if he was the assistant on the set or if he was Milton's assistant even, because an assistant would have access to a lot of that information, obviously, because that's what assistants do. And he could have justified like, oh, they're filming Stab 3. Oh, wait a second. Let me try to get this thing. He maybe could have like rigged his resume to have gotten an assistant job or like pulled off something where he maybe was a nobody who then lied about who he was to get onto set to become an assistant or like plan it over a couple of years. That I would have believed more than him being a successful director.
Also, with how he is personality wise, he's like, I watched her. I'm like, then okay, you knew she had a daughter, your sister. You didn't want to like pull the sister aside one day and be like, hey, I'm your brother. If you were really looking for that, or if grandma's still alive, I'd be like, why is mom that's my mom, blah, blah, like.
Wait, who's his dad then? Who's his dad?
It's unknown because it was at some orgy party that this happened.
And all those dudes, supposedly, whatever, gangbang.
Fucked her 3 ways from Sunday.
Yes, Maureen.
You said it's quotable.
Yeah, it is.
But then, how would he have known that unless it's almost like, I just don't understand where he got adopted or.
And then
had the baby.
Well,
maybe that's how she decided to like, I'll leave Hollywood and be hush hush, but here's this baby and you have to take care of it. Big time producer, which has no reflection on Harvey Weinstein at all. This whole Miramax thing.
This movie came back up when that stuff went down.
Because literally, the girl that plays Sydney, the actress, she won that role as an actress, and then everyone's like, "Oh, you're goody two shoes, whatever. Who did you have to climb over and claw your way to the top to get this role?" She's like, "You guys, I just really want to do this." And then she's like, "No, fuck that pig. I went out of here. I'm gonna live. I'm not gonna."
Emily Mortimer is great and undervalued in this movie, but
she was supposed
to be the other killer. There was supposed to be Roman and her, and they still leave. It's still present in this film. That's part of the problem with this film. Is one of the things they didn't like. Part of why she was there, and also that Columbine had 2 killers, so we don't want to have 2 killers here, which is dumb because Scream has always had 2 killers, and like her death scene was a fake death. Like, so when you see her getting dragged, that's meant to be a fake death scene. And it was supposed to be some twisted incestual fantasy of Roman's, that why he was dating her because she was playing Sydney and all this stuff. And also she was supposed to be some girl that sat next to Sydney in class and never paid attention to her or anything like that. She didn't even recognize her.
But they bring that back up later in another movie.
Something like that. Oh, and well, yes. And when she catches her in the bathroom,
Yeah.
the stuff that was supposed to be like, oh, whoops, I was actually really going to put this stuff on and call you and do this
That's
stuff.
so weird. It's like,
It's
okay,
all left
are
in the
you
movie.
trying to do Scream 1, where you're like, oh, a little, nod to the first bathroom scene where the boots come down, but instead it's like, no, I'm just dressed like this. Hey.
Well, and there's stuff that's just impossible for Roman to do in this movie because they were filming it with 2 people as the killer. And like the part where she finds her in the bathroom and then they run through the house and there's the magic body bag that rises. Yeah. How is that?
Ugh.
Because there was 2 of them.
But that's where
Yeah,
I'm like, are they hallucinating? I thought Sydney was hallucinating that until the end. He does it again. And I'm like, okay, maybe she's not hallucinating it. It really was a killer.
Well, how did he fake his own death like that too? The way he did that.
Because she was supposed to help set that up.
Well, exactly. So watch, we find out in like Scream 7 that like there's a secret killer that really was there the whole time in 3.
Oh my gosh, she didn't die.
She didn't die. They never claimed the body. Yeah.
Oh my god, if Emily Mortimer comes back in 7 as like the revealed like he just was protecting me because we truly were in love, and she's the killer in 7 going, yeah, that would be because that would justify Sydney's return. So there we go. Scream 7, if you're listening. If you haven't written it yet, bring back Emily Mortimer as the secret third killer.
Right.
To make the movie that she was supposed to make. So she's traumatized and everyone had to hump Mr. whatever, Milton.
Milton.
Gosh, that's just that was so on the nose after all the Weinstein stuff. You're like, God, they really were talking about it, weren't they?
Which is so funny.
70s. Things were different.
It's just funny that movies showcase how bad the industry is, and yet
never doing anything about it.
Yeah, and they don't do it. Like, it's just like, oh, but then like acknowledging it in the movie and like having characters like that, you almost you're desensitized to it, but then you almost go like, well, like it can't be as bad as what the movie's making out to be because that's the movie.
Also, this is a Dimension Films, a branch of Miramax, owned and produced by Harvey Weinstein himself.
The whole time watching, they're literally like, we're gonna write this about what we know, because we saw him do it to like Rose McGowan or God knows however many people. Maybe that's why Kate Hudson turned the role down, because he's like, you want to bob this dick, and she's like, no, I'm gonna go do this other thing. Who knows? I don't know. Allegedly, I did like
Milton has a diving board off the window in his office. That's kind of neat.
Didn't Milton's house is where they go at the end, right? With all the fancy secret passageways and a giant banner that says "Happy Birthday, Roman,"
which is also the finale house classroom place from Halloween H2O. It's the same building.
It is. I thought it looked familiar.
Same building. Yep.
Yeah. Because wait, what year did H2O come out?
98.
Okay.
Which it's only fair because H2O borrowed score music from Scream, so they can pay it forward by saying you can use the same finale house as we did. So, but,
you know what's weird? I actually saw H2O in theaters, which came out in 98, so I was really young.
Both movies have Creed.
Oh
Dude,
yeah,
they're all about Creed.
That's the what if? Ah! And there's my favorite thing is when Sydney goes into her old bedroom and there's the Creed poster.
How much money did they owe Creed or something? Did they lose a bet? Like, how did
And Creed had 2 songs on the soundtrack, not just one.
Gosh, and like it's in Cotton's freaking stereo ready to play. The what? Yeah,
What
I
if?
was like, what? What
And they
is
had a
her
music
heart on her
video with the
Creed?
Creed guys running through these sets from a killer, holding hands with girls, running around like Scott Stapp, like, oh no, it's a ghost face.
Well, Red Right Hand came back, but I looked it up.
That is the
Yeah.
roll call.
Online,
That is the roll
Yep.
call, which is
and
brilliant.
not started the movie. They started it early on. At
They
some
did.
point
They did it
anyway.
when they're on the movie set. It's the
Mhm.
it's
Yep.
the song
Yep.
when he goes to the movie set. It comes back on,
But it was
But-
made
or on the
for
studio
Scream
set
3, I guess.
with
right?
Jay and Silent Bob too.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. Okay. When they're doing the movie studio tour, I freaking love it. I love that they throw in, like, again, it's the Easter eggs in the little universe that we all live in. It's all the same, and I love it. And
Well,
is it Wes that's in there too?
Wes is with them, yeah. Wes
Okay.
Craven's with them, and I think his his first AD or somebody. It's two of them, but then Wes then turns around and is in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back
Awesome.
when they wander onto the set of a Scream movie with a horrible joke of the killer being a monkey. Like, it's just it's a like, oh, move to something else, guys. Move. That was a bad joke.
Is there a reason why Carrie Fisher's in the movie? I love that scene, but why is
It's
Carrie
brilliant. It's brilliant, actually. It's one of the most brilliant touches in this movie. I
It
think
is.
they had like 3 different iconic Hollywood people they were going for this role, but Carrie Fisher fits the bill because
Oh, yeah.
it's a trilogy, and it's, you know, they talk about, but it signifies the kind of bullshit retroactive sibling reveal of the killer that's not
Yeah.
true until you watch the third one, which that's the same as the Luke and Leia sibling revelation in Return of the Jedi,
oh my
which
gosh, I didn't even think about that.
isn't true until Return of the Jedi, because Leia was not Luke's sister in the original plans. It was Mara Jade who became Luke's love interest in novels, but the Star Wars was supposed to go a lot longer than in 1, 2, 3, and then they decided, you know what? I'm done with this. I want to cap it off. But Luke was supposed to find his long lost sister across the galaxy in the form of Mara Jade, the redhead. But then he wrapped it up and said, it's Princess Leia. Which Darth Vader was not supposed to be his father either until the third rewrite of Empire Strikes Back. So
Interesting.
but that's what I love about here, because they point those things out, and there we go.
Yeah. And I just love Parker Posey giving her like the jewelry and like just trying to like
Judy
out-gale Gale.
Jurgenstein.
Yeah, like she's out-galing Gale. Like I just think it's such a fun movie. And like even the whole house like blowing up scene, I'm like, it's just fun. It's campy, fun. And Gale, and like when they both fall down, like fly off the mountain, and Gale and Dewey's like, they're both Gales are calling him, and he's like, I don't really know. Like, of course he's gonna go to real Gale, but I just love that like doofy moment of just, what do I do? Because like, what should he do? His job's kind of to protect Parker Posey, but like his actual love is still Gale, and now he's in this weird situation. Like, it's just funny, but like still tense in its own way. Like there's still tension created. I don't know. I think it's fun.
Well, there's an honesty in the fact that I liked about that they have, after the movie gets held up production wise, that they're having this powwow at Tom Prince's house, because like that's what you would do. Like, because when you're filming a movie or you're doing a stage production of something, even though it's a limited run of your life, like those are your best friends at the moment. Those are everybody you're around every day. And that's who, so they were like, well, fuck, why don't you guys just want to come over to my house tonight and get fucking loaded because this fucked us up? And everybody, you know, it feels like that would happen.
Yes.
Because even though they all hate each other, it feels like that's something that would honestly happen.
Yeah. You would commiserate together. Like that's just, it bonds you. And that, yeah. So like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I continue to like this movie more and more the more I've actually like engaged with Hollywood, because again, when it came out, I was 14, an 8th grader, and now I am substantially older, and I have experienced Hollywood in multiple ways as an adult. And I continue to grow an appreciation for the absurdity of this movie. And I like the kill scenes enough. I mean, like the opening kill scene still is suspenseful and clever. Jenny McCarthy's is only clever just because when you find out the killer reveal at the end that it is Roman, and yet like you're made to not believe it's Roman because the whole voice changer thing was already established. So now it's like the killer could do anything, but that was just Roman literally being Roman until he put on the fake voice of it to like actually take down Jenny McCarthy. Or
Which
just
they did with that scene. They cut a point of view shot from outside that studio from the movie of her arriving. So it was like she was being watched, but they cut it out because it was supposed to be two of them, and one was outside calling, and the other because I'm like, was he sitting there in that costume rack making the phone call, waiting
Yeah.
for her to run in there? Like,
That is terrifying, though. All those like
It is.
Yes.
space costumes. I'm like, oh hell, this would be my
That would
nightmare. I
be
would just
my
lay down on the
nightmare.
floor. I would just probably lay down and go, just come on out. It's over.
Yep.
It's over. Don't
Agreed.
wake me. I'm gonna have a panic attack just trying to figure out which one it is. And yeah,
I would have started crying just like you. I would have lied down. I'd be like, I'm done.
Like,
Finish
this
me
is my
off.
nightmare. No.
Yep.
Ugh.
Like I just thought that was clever. I thought it was funny with the whoever the fax machine, which doesn't exist really nowadays in the same way like it used to. I thought that was clever. Like it just at least they did something unique with the deaths in its own way, and it worked because it wasn't a typical Ghostface thing because it really was out for revenge for Sydney. Like it was. I mean, the other people didn't really need to die in the process, but like I don't wait, how did he end up getting Sydney's phone number again to get the woman's calling thing or the call center or whatever when he finally did get her out of hiding? Like she shows up at the
Well-
police station like the killer called me. How did Roman get that number?
Yeah, I don't know that part.
I don't
feel
know,
like
but
they
there was
glazed it.
also when they talk about a woman calling to ask about Sydney's or who somebody
They
a woman called
Woodsboro and
was
wanted-
and it was actually supposed to, it was meant to be Emily Mortimer's character who was doing that calling. That's why they're looking for a woman.
Oh,
But yeah,
Yeah, how did they get it? Because what Dewey knew her number.
because it was on the set of the movie. So if he borrowed Dewey's phone,
I think Gail did say that. So he got the number by taking Dewey's phone. I guess Dewey being dumber in this movie it makes that more logical. Like
Yeah, but he
probably,
would keep Sydney in his phone as crisis hotline.
yeah, that's where I'm confused.
That is so
Yeah.
weird. 'Cause, like it would just be like Sydney's direct line. I guess we aren't supposed to question that.
Well, but yeah, I mean, but again, I think that again, testament to these actors and like to this franchise that in all its absurdity, I still have fun with it, unlike other franchises where like I can tell you about every single Scream movie and each individual beat of every movie. When other franchises, I'm like, which one was that? Like Saw, I've seen them all. I enjoy them all. I love the franchise. I can't tell you beyond 3 what happens in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like I can't really like I
They just
know what
blend
happens.
together basically.
They
right?
start blending together. Scream, they're all very distinct, clear movies
Mhm.
that have very strong strengths. Like there's strengths to them, and I think that is mostly a testament to the actors and the cast that they tend to get.
Yeah.
And that's why these work the way that they do. I think the other movies and other franchises are interesting concepts and for some reason look cheaper. Scream never looks cheap to me. There's nothing about these movies that end up looking cheap like the eventual like franchise movies that have so many in them where like some of them look way more low budget than others. The Screams never really ever feel like they've cheapened themselves to a point where they don't fit in with the rest like other franchises do in horror, in other genres. But that's why I feel like Scream is better or stronger as a franchise, like, and more connected to non-horror trilogies than it is to the horror genre because it kind of beats the odds compared to other horror movies, I guess. If that makes sense. Like I think trilogies in other genres can be very strong in independent movies of them, like dramatic or mysteries or all the things. And Scream accomplishes that where like name another franchise where like every movie you can clearly talk about has a clear POV, whether or not it's like good or bad, you can have fun with it. Like I don't know of any movie series that now Scream this will our 6th one's coming out that you can really have that much fun with every movie and you can say, oh, that's from Scream 3, that's from Scream 2, that's from 4, that's from 1, that's from 5. Like name another horror franchise that is that defined. Can you? Like Halloween? I know you probably can, Brandon, but like
that's not the right one to ask.
yeah. But I mean, but that's my point. Like I know you can, but like I can't, like, I mean, and from somebody who loves horror and all that, they all just become this weird mush in my head of like all the Halloweens start blending together. And even like Halloween H2O and Resurrection and all those, I've seen them all. I own them on DVD. They all start blending together to me. Like I sometimes think certain scenes in
Well, it's because
Resurrection
Scream's your favorite. There's a difference there too. Like,
true, but
I
I
mean,
like the Halloweens. Like, I'm not saying I don't. It just, for some reason, Scream manages to, even in what's considered Scream 3, the worst
mhm.
of all of them. I mean, I think you like, I think even all the Rotten Tomatoes and the IMDb scores have this as the lowest one. It's still so fun to talk
It's
about.
bubbly
Whether
though. That's part of what helps it is it has a bubbly nature to it, and Scream kind of has its own vibe. Um, I would say like with the other ones, like I can separate your Halloweens, your Nightmare on Elm Street, your Friday the 13th easily, but I had those before I had Scream, so I was watching those up and down and up and left and right and stuff before there was a Scream. Um, so I had, it's kind of easy for me to do that.
Were any other
But
movies have 3 characters that made it through 3 movies though?
no,
Was
this
it-
is the only series to consistently have those original cast through
I guess
like
like
a
unless
certain
you
amount.
take the Tommy Jarvis trilogy
But he's
apart
not
of his
played by the same
movies, so
actor either.
yeah. It's just
Yeah.
weird because like you get smarter as the movies go on. Like you should. Like Sydney, I love how like confident she is with a gun. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna protect myself. Yeah, I'm gonna outsmart you. I'm
Mhm.
gonna have 2 guns in my boot.
She
Biatch.
grabbed that flak jacket that she stared at and the camera hung on for a while. Didn't think that was gonna happen.
Oh my gosh. But then like with Dewey, it's like when he rolls down the hill and he sees a ghost face and he starts shooting a bunch. It's like he shot like 5 or 6 times at their chest and he just rolls away. It's like, buddy, were you aiming for the head at all? And then again, we'll see that later.
At the
again,
end,
but yeah.
Dewey head.
And it's like, duh.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem with this movie where it falls flat is its killer and the reveal, which Greg pointed out some fantastic absurdities with it, but he's just kind of like, and the fact that who was it that said let's leave the scene in where Courtney Cox checks his pulse and moves on, because
You
it's
know,
not that he set up his fake death. That's one thing that we could be like,
Yeah.
okay. But the fact that she stops, goes over, checks the pulse, and moves away, like,
I thought that was a prop arm. Like, if anything, if he was like fake dying, he would have like somehow.
well, Wes Craven said there's breathing exercises you can do to slow
Yeah.
your rate. So I'm like, ah.
But you can't.
Roman
do
Bridger was
anything
the
to-
ex. He was like studying, making sure.
He just
Once
had
I
to really
land
put
the
all that
job.
makeup on himself supposedly because he was the
Yeah.
lone killer. So there's no way he had that time.
Yeah.
Unless he's like
he
losing all that
managed
killer
to
shit,
like
sure.
become a director of a major franchise somehow. I think he probably would have taken the time to do the breathing exercises to fake his death.
I don't know.
I'm
it's
sorry.
just it's just
Roman and-
it's pretty sloppy for a film. Like it's
And she wasn't really checking that heart because she was like scared. I would be like, I don't
Yeah.
know if there's a pulse. I'd be like just barely doing
Cut
that
it.
and-
just cut it. Don't even
Could've
put
cut
it
it.
in the film. Like that's
I get it, but again,
also
I
if
know
you're
when
smart,
people-
don't trust the off-screen death.
well, no,
Never
I mean,
trust it.
but okay.
Mm.
Well, in this movie, at this point of the movie, you know you're in a horror movie because enough
Yeah.
people have died and you're being chased. But you're also, and again, I talked about this in the last podcast. As somebody who like who's kind of been chased and been through like things like that, like you really don't think as clearly as you would want to in those situations. It's hard to open doors when
Mhm.
you're being chased. It's hard to do certain things because you're frantic and that energy and you don't really know. But like some people are good at that. I know that I know how I am and I can get through things and I'm quick and I'm not that stupid in those situations because I'm still alive. But you're not at like I would probably like touch the body. I wouldn't touch the body, but I mean like if I kind of was with somebody, I would be like, let me go check. And I might like good enough they're dead and like walk away, not even really waiting for a pulse that much. So
So we think Gail Weathers is dumb, or
I don't think she's dumb. I just think that she's just like, we've been through this. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to really like check. I just need like, what am I doing? Why am I checking the pulse? Like the dude looks
Mhm.
dead. Like we're under attack. People are
Yeah.
dying. I just don't think it was really like registering to her to be like, do I really need to confirm that this man in this box is dead? I don't know
Mm.
why she would have in that moment really
Right.
needed to confirm. Like I get why she thought about doing it, but then I don't know if she would have wanted to hover there, because in that reality, it's like we need to just get out of here. Like now is not the time to like check for dead bodies because we might die while trying to save him, type of thing.
Like,
So
did you check our cameraman's pulse in the first one? You know,
he had
when
his
he
throat
gets the-
slit, but yeah.
well, it could have been a fake slit. We don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't
But,
know.
like,
It's bad.
She
It's
should have
bad.
took the
It
knife
shouldn't
and
have
like
been
tried
in
to
there.
jam it in there
Like,
more
I know
just
it's
to make sure he's dead. Because she's like, look, I didn't kill him. I was just making sure he
Yeah.
actually was dead because he could have been the killer. And then turns
Yeah.
out it was a fake knife.
I don't know. It's there,
would've
but
done
it's a bad decision in my.
see, that's funny. You picked that out, and I don't even think that registered to me because
Yeah.
it's just there's already so many dead bodies turning up at this point that it's just like why would I assume? And again, we're
Yeah, but
coming
that's
from
in the content. But when you're writing a moment, when you're putting a film together, it's bad. It's a bad move. Like it's
yes,
cheating.
yeah,
It's
it-
yeah. You can, as the scene is, you can contextualize it throughout. But when you're creating it, you have to come up with it, and it's just a bad idea. And just
okay,
don't
I'll
put it
give you
there.
that. I'll give you I can justify Gail's action in the movie, but I guess I can't justify the screenwriter's decision while
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah,
So there, I'll
that's where I'm.
compromise.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from here. Was
Okay.
like I have defended like as is like uh you know there's the complaints of Zack Snyder's Man of Steel that Superman's just going around destroying the city and Zod. I'm like, yeah, but like Zod's doing all that. What's he supposed to do? Like this guy's not going to stop at anything. They don't like to kill Zod, but like I guess you have to write that to begin with, and you don't have to make that decision. But movie as is, I can defend that finale. But I don't know. I get a lot of bleh about that, even though I'm not like this huge Man of Steel fan. I'm just like, given what we're shown, but we have to be given what we're shown too. So that's where I'm
So-
coming out with that.
You know what we were shown?
What? Yeah.
Randy. Wasn't that exciting to see?
No,
Randy
worst scene in
again?
the movie.
Really?
What scene?
The Randy scene.
When Martha
Oh,
meets
I like
Rosa
that.
and his sister, I loved it because it's like he would have probably
Really?
made a
Hey
video.
guys! Oh, so embarrassing. I hate that scene.
It's
Sorry, the
embarrassing.
sister is so bad. They luckily redeem her in 5, but it's like the guys take care of yourselves. Oh my god! Like, oh Jesus Christ! Oh
Well,
god!
I like
yeah,
it.
It's
there-
bad.
there is a certain lightness to this movie that is a little bizarre given that like real people are dying.
I have to fly to this Hollywood to show them this tape I just found. Like,
I mean, this was again, I can forgive it because I like everybody in it. And the fact that here's the thing though, that like the pulse sequence or the her showing up on the set with the movie as a screenwriting person, like who's writing the movie, yes, it isn't really great storytelling because it just seems like why. However, with that being said, the fact that I can even remotely defend it based on like being frantic in the moment, not being bothered, shows that there's still a level of care and a world that they built that I want to accept and believe. Like there are other movies where I can never defend choices of the things being like that does not fit the world. You can't justify it. It's failed. And at least in this movie, there may be things that are off the rails. You can still find a way to either accept it or forgive it or just do it because of the actor's performance of just committing to whatever absurdity that they're doing, or there's enough history there that you kind of can fill in the gaps enough on your own. And I appreciate these movies for allowing that for me, because a lot of movies I will not defend for stupid choices ever. And this one I don't mind defending, and I can stand by my defense of it. Like, I don't care if people like agree or not. I can stand by my own defense of these choices.
I believe
The
the
ta-
actors. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh no, the actors, when they're sitting around the beginning, kind of talking about who would have done it, who would have killed someone. They go, it's probably some fan that was mad that they killed off Randy in the sequel. So Randy dies and stabbed too, and then they make a whatever. I'm so sorry, I cannot think of the actor's name or the character he plays, but it's the one that's not Randy, but it's a knockoff Randy.
Yeah,
Who works at
Tyson.
the video
By
store.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm not Randy.
Which he gets the short shrift because they were trying to make him a suspect, so he doesn't appear. Like the scene, the powwow at the house, he's intentionally not there to keep him as a suspect.
I never once thought he was a suspect though. Ever
Yeah.
watching it. Dempsey was
Same.
a suspect.
Yep.
Like I was like, it's Patrick Dempsey. He's like his hard on for these murder thing for Sydney and the mom. Like he's just like infatuated with the crime. That's what even as a kid, I was like, oh dude, it's totally this dude.
He does get one of the best scenes, where it's after Sydney gets attacked on the movie set, and that Josh Pais is the detective is talking to Emily Mortimer, and he's standing next to her, and he's like, you took the mask. And she's like, I stole it. I mean, I took it. He's like, you took the mask or you stole the mask. And then he goes, don't look at me. I didn't take shit.
He's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's just a great delivery. Like, don't look at me. I didn't take shit. Like, yeah, it's a great Josh Pais. And then his reaction there is like, oh, it's good. That's good stuff. But the videotape was supposed to be in the ending of the movie too. When they are at the house, the movie they're going to watch is that VHS tape of Randy, and it's a segment of it where he gives his favorite films that aren't scary movies.
Oh,
His film recommendations that aren't scary movies. And there's actually some photos that have surfaced from it because him playing on the TV matches the stuff from Sydney's house, the TV Sydney has in her house and everything else. So there's like script of that laying around, and then like a couple pictures, but it's never actually released, that scene. But I'm sure there's a lot of deleted stuff from this movie that they haven't shown people.
I wish I could see it, because again, as somebody who, like, if anybody listening has access to that footage, I am a fan of this movie. I want to see it because I won't hate it, I promise. So please let me, like, a super fan see it.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, also Sydney and Roman, they don't meet each other also with this movie till the scene where he reveals himself.
That doesn't bother me. It bothers
crazy.
everyone else. It doesn't bother me for some reason, because I feel like that's almost more believable. Like, I like that he's not like interacting with Sydney throughout the movie, because I feel like that just works. Like, it just kind of works in its own way. Here's my thing. I still just don't understand how he thinks directing this movie is what's going to lead him to Sydney.
Yeah.
Like, I still am. I feel like there's so many other ways, like so many things again had to line up. Like, not only did you have to direct this movie, but then you had to also get access to Dewey.
Mm-hmm.
And like Dewey managed to leave the town to come work on the film set, like, because he would be the only one with access to Sydney. I feel like Roman could have done so many other less I mean, at least in his like plot of revenge, he built a career for himself.
Yeah,
and
he was
did something with
fine.
his life.
He
Like,
could have lived. He could have. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
Like, it's just tough for me to go. Like, the best revenge is showing you, like, I mean, what's that, like, that saying is like, the best revenge is showing you like how good you become, like death becomes her or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, when you want to like, when you get dumped, like, do you want to be like sad and pathetic, or do you want to go and become very successful and great and rub it in their face? Like, he did all that. So like,
Yep.
why you gotta kill people now? Like, what if Roman? I just wish Roman was more pathetic. Like, he was a sociopath, because obviously you wouldn't do it without being that. But I wish he was more pathetic, because it's like, I would kill for his life. Well, not actually kill, but like, I would love his life. Like, I would love to be a director of horror movies. That would be awesome. Like,
No.
it just makes me angry that he got so much out of life, and yet still that wasn't enough. He had to kill people to finally feel something. Like,
Well, he had to make his own movie. He created this entire saga, he says, because he's the one that filmed his mommy and then caught her cheating and then showed Billy Loomis the footage, and then Billy got upset and he's like, "Oh, excellent, my puppets."
Yeah.
Which is so weird. But then, so maybe his, again, like his whole thought process wasn't to find Sydney, but he's like, "I'll bring her to me. If I can't find her, I'm going to direct this movie and start killing people off one by one. And Dewey's here, and eventually she'll show up." And then
I'm the
Gail
author of all
is-
your pain.
And he knew once someone died, Gail would show up because
Yeah.
she's a reporter. So they would
Mhm.
come to him.
It's just so much work.
Yeah.
It's
A
so
lot of
much
work.
work.
It's a lot of work.
It's more work than I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and rigging a contest and befriending that group and being attractive enough to become a love interest of Jennifer Love Hewitt. It's still more work than all of that.
There's
Yeah.
Is what
legends
Rowan
too. Let
did.
me tell you what happened. This is what happened. Oh, okay, because I missed that in the movie. Here, this
But
makes you
also-
feel better, though. This will make you feel better. The whole movie. Dewey going, "Was that a threat?" And Detective Kincaid going, "If it was a threat, you'll know it." And Dewey goes, "Was that a threat?"
Yeah.
That's the
That's
best
good.
thing ever. I love it. I love David Arquette. I love Dewey's character. So as he sometimes seems so much dumber, I'm like, I'm okay. But you
You
can
know-
pay me for a headshot every once in a while, buddy.
You know what's funny? This is you know what Scream 3 did, and this is what the TV show Friends did. They like Joey-fied him because Joey in
Yeah.
season 1, 2, and 3 of Friends was not as dumb as he was by the
Oh,
end
no,
of
right.
season 10
He
of
became a
Friends.
caricature of what, yeah.
Yeah, and like Joey was never that dumb. So I feel like Dewey was like a little like he was small town cop, kind of doofy, but like had some sense to him. 2, he was much more on point.
Like
and
a
then he just
wounded,
got-
he was like a wounded puppy in 2. Like
Yeah.
that's his doofiness comes from that, yeah.
And now in Scream 3, he's like now like dumb.
But
And then
maybe he's got
yeah.
a sense of confidence that has turned him dumb because he's not really as, I don't know.
well, he also was like a fish out of water. He was putting on the airs of being more important than he really was with the Hollywood thing. So I feel like people who do that end up coming across as dumber no matter what, even if they're not,
Mhm.
because you're not this person. So it just automatically makes you look a little off. And
Gotcha.
and I think he was aware of that with his character too. So again, I can defend this movie. I like it. I stand by it. It's probably like this is why I've seen it the most out of all of them. Somehow
will-
it's the most fun to watch.
I'll say I do enjoy the proposal at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, same.
That works really well. But yeah, as always, I go through the soundtracks of these.
Yep.
Creed, of course, has What If and Is This the End? Fuel, Sunburn, best one on there. It plays to when they go to the powwow at Tom Prince's house. That opens up that track, and that's one of my fave albums of the 90s too. Like that one. Static X, So Real, System of a Down, Spiders, and Figure 11, Suffocate. They really went new metal alt rock on the soundtrack for Scream 3. That's the direction they went. There was a bit of everything on Scream 2, and Scream 1 was a bit more poppy. This is like we're going alt rock. We're going down this road. Alt rock, new metal.
Yeah, interesting.
So this one had the biggest opening weekend for a Miramax film at the time, or also a film in the January to April frame of the year at the time. Of course, we've had Marvel movies been opening up in there through it, but it was also the first noticeable dip at the box office for the series. Not the lowest grossing one, that's next week, but because Scream 2 and Scream 1 like equal, like domestic, foreign, total, just it's like $1 million or $2 million off from each other. And then this one still made a lot of money, but it was kind of like, all right, got it, going home, no Scream 4. But we would get a Scream 4.
And I'm glad we did, because the more I watch that, the more I love it.
Well, that'll
Like,
be next week's discussion.
I think four is now officially the second most one I've watched.
Oh,
which
my.
is so weird that 3 and 4 are the most like my top 2 I'm not saying my top 2 of like series, but my top 2 watched, But then I have to factor in, why is that? Do I really like Scream 3 and 4 the most? Like, I
please
feel
no.
weird saying that. Well, no, like I can't rationalize that, but here's the thing. Some of my favorite movies I don't watch very often because like
Mhm.
you don't want to watch, like sometimes really good things you just don't want to watch a lot. Like it's just
Yeah.
You have
harder
to
to
give it your
watch.
time, and you're like, I don't really want to like focus on this, and I want to
Yes.
give it what it deserves. I do that all the time. Even if it's
Yeah.
a Sandler movie, I'm like, yes, I want to watch The Waterboy, but if I watch The Waterboy, I'm going to watch it and not just be doing something else. But
Yeah.
then there's
I
movies
think
that'll
that's what
pop
it
on. It's
is.
like, oh, whatever, I'll just leave it on. And
Yeah,
you're
no,
like,
I
Speed was on. I was like, heck yeah, I'll turn Speed on. And
I put off good movies because I'm like, I want to have the perfect circumstances to sit and watch this.
Yeah. And I feel
Mhm.
like these movies are what's funny is last week I like because Scream 3 is on Paramount Plus and I was like, I'm gonna put it on real quick. So I did that and then like all I watch now is like YouTube for whatever reason because I'm that guy. And I was like watching random stuff on YouTube, or I was watching like Scream like theory videos as I've been doing for weeks now. And randomly YouTube auto-played Scream 3 because YouTube has Scream 3 for free with commercials for some
Oh.
reason. And I was just like, I'll leave it on. I literally watched it like 2 hours before, and then Scream 3 auto-played on YouTube after I watched it on Paramount Plus, and I was like, I'll leave it on. I watched it twice in one day, and I was like, that was fun. Like, not bothered by it. But like, if one comes on or two comes on, I'm like, it's too much for me right now. Like, it's too much for me to like leave it on if I do, because it's like, they're more serious. Like, I want to think about it. I want to watch it. Like Scream 3 is a good time, and Scream 4 is kind of a good time too, actually. So yeah, and we'll talk about why later.
All right. But yeah, that'll wrap us up here for the trilogy of Scream. But you know, it'll marinate, and many moons later there'll be a fourth one. But first, Jessica, where can people keep up with you?
Hi, I'm over at the Bob and Tom Show, but you can follow me on Twitter at JN Alsman and Instagram at Jessica Alsman.
All right, and Greg.
And I'm on all social media as the McGoonies.
All right. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD, written work at whysobblue.com. Next week, we return to Woodsboro 11 years later as Sidney Prescott comes home for a book signing event. Should go well, right? Yeah. Till then, stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.